Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, or almost evening. My name is Sean Ackline, so I'll host it throughout. And Jennifer Wetmore from Community Futures is going to be the moderator for this. And we've got Sarah who's going to be doing the timekeeping. And we've got our candidates up here, Peter Dembski, Dana O'Donnell, and Linda K. Weiss. Now we know that there's probably lots of questions, so we're going to encourage you to reach out to them afterwards, and of course on social media and on your own time if there's questions that you have that don't get asked and don't get answered. So, of course, voting day is October 15th. Early voting is on October the 5th. So there's some rules to today. The candidates have drawn their order and are now seated. Now, each candidate will have 2 minutes to make an opening statement, and 1 minute for a closing statement, and 1 minute per question. Now, if the candidates continue to go over their allotted time, they may lose their opportunity to answer future questions or give their closing statement so that all the candidates actually have a fair and equal amount of time. Now, the candidates are not asked to interrupt other candidates, opening, closing statements, or during questions. Now, each candidate will have one yellow card. This allows them to respond to any candidate's answer with a 1 minute statement of their own. Now, they can each only use this card once. However, more than one candidate may use their card to respond in sequence. Now, the moderator Jen will direct questions to the appropriate candidate, and the questions have been pre-submitted, screened for relevance. Not all candidates will receive the same question, so hopefully you study. The moderator can rule out of order at any person and the candidates or the audience member who use this public forum for any slander or attack on any persons present or not. And the chair has the authority to dismiss any candidate from the stage for misconduct or remove audience members for the very same actions. With that said, that shouldn't be an issue. So Jen is going to take over and we'll get ready for opening statements.
Hi everybody, thank you for coming and thank you to our candidates. It takes a lot of courage to sit up in front of a group of people and answer questions and be ready and kind of willing to engage in that type of communication, so thank you. Let's get started. So, I get my glasses. Peter, you're first up. You have 2 minutes for your opening statement.
Hello, my name is Peter Dembski and I am running for RDKB. As many of you are aware, I've had a history of battles with the regional district, having my trailer park torn down and my house torn down. And basically, if I'm elected, I'm gonna err on the side of property owners because they pay the taxes on their land and they should be able to do what they want with their land, basically, is one of my biggest things. And also I want to see a seniors activity center built beside the kettle, or the silver kettle. There's city-owned land right there, and the seniors have no place to go to have a game of pool or a game of bingo or whatever, or dancing. So I'm going to put one of those in beside the silver kettle. And then also I want to see landfill reform, like scavenging of wood for building materials, we should be allowed to have access to that after all it just gets chipped up. And bring back the reuse center. That's another one, because now we have to go and buy everything from the restore. And also I want to put together a committee of dealing with the wildlife conflict situation, because we're shooting all the bears and stuff like that, and I don't think that's a good thing. And I want to bring the conservation service on board, and I also want to bring the bear dude on board. And we're going to have to come up with outside of the box thinking when it comes to dealing with wildlife, because shooting them I don't think is the answer. Maybe we can do something up at the landfill, something like that for the wildlife. That's my presentation, and a vote for me is a vote for the critters.
Okay, thank you, Peter. Dana, next up.
Good evening, everyone. I want to begin with a land acknowledgement. I acknowledge and appreciate that the land on which we gather is the converging traditional and unceded territory of the Syilx, Secwepemc, and Sinixt peoples, as well as the Métis peoples whose footsteps have also marked these lands. Tomorrow is the day of truth and reconciliation, and I hope we can all take time to reflect on our history of what occurred in residential schools and continue to reveal the truth about what happened to the children, survivors, families, communities, and anyone that was affected by the residential school system. I'd also like to address my position on running for re-election as RDKB Director for Rural Grand Forks and Mayor of the city. If elected, I intend on holding both positions. There is no conflict of interest, and both positions go hand in hand, complementing each other. By doing both, I continue to build a solid relationship between both areas and help us move forward efficiently and effectively, especially in economic development, healthcare, tourism, housing development. We are one community, so let's work together with more voices to meet each other's needs. I've been a resident of the area for 20 years. I've volunteered and supported every group that's reached out. For the last 2 years, I've been director and have done an outstanding job. I've responded to every concern the residents have had, and I've done my best to find resolutions to their problems. I've represented our area professionally, and I've gone above and beyond by stepping forward on the hospital board and local government associations as an executive. I've spoken to various political ministries and made our needs very clear. I'm past the learning curve that can take years, and I have the skills, energy, and experience. I look forward to continuing to be your voice so the boundary is not overlooked and continue to have my forward momentum.
Thank you, Donna. Okay, Linda, please.
I have never done this before, so this is very interesting to me. Hello, Grand Forks. When I decided to put my name forward for Area D Director, I was chided for presuming to represent folk from the boundary when I am so new to the area. I feel that it is exactly because I am new that I am the perfect choice for Area D Director. I am not invested in local politics, but I am invested in local people. My campaign is about you, not about me. Fresh eyes can often see new solutions to old problems. As a new resident, I find myself concerned about our local hospital service in particular and area healthcare as a whole. My husband and I are finding ongoing trips to Kelowna and Trail for medical appointments very challenging. As a farmer, I find myself concerned about land use, access to water, and invasive weeds. I also follow any discussion about secondary housing with great interest. I know that support for a local slaughterhouse would help farmers and hunters. I hear that other farmers are suffering from too many regulations and that the regulations are affecting their ability to do business. We also need to make better use of the land we do have. Our little town is lovely, but we need to be sure that our valley is also an attractive place to do business. Grand Forks needs support and guidance to responsibly grow its services and industries. The regional district and Grand Forks itself need to encourage, support, and grow local groups that bring visitors and business to the boundary. We only need to look at neighboring communities for ways to support successful local partnerships. Listening to the people of Area D, I hear so many concerns about the lack of affordable housing. I also hear we need better supports for our rural seniors. Quality of life is why we choose to live in the boundary.
Thank you, Linda. I have to cut you off. Thank you so much. Yeah, 2 minutes. Appreciate that. Okay, so now we're going to move into questions that have been submitted to the chamber and pre-vetted for relevance as was articulated earlier. And in the same order, please, Peter, you first. What action will you be taking to address the current healthcare concerns in the region?
Like I said, I've got kind of a big plan for that seniors hall. And there's also some other ways that I can work with interior health and stuff like that. We want to get more home care aides, so we're going to do a kind of a drive to recruit more home care aides, like basically put a program out there so that they can go in and they'll get free tuition, and they'll get like incentives like $5,000 for a car, and their license paid for. So that's because we need there's lots of young women that need jobs and people that also could do jobs like that, you know.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So just to confirm, and I should have said this earlier,
And it's gonna have the best snooker table mug you can buy that senior hall.
there's 1 minute for candidates to answer these questions. So Dana, you're up next. What is the top environmental concern or issue you see in our region, and how will you address it?
Thank you for the question. The top environmental concern for our area is climate change. We're experiencing record-setting wildfires and flooding, extreme heat waves, droughts, and storm events. Using the RDKB's Climate Action Plan, reducing greenhouse gases from our corporate operations, and including reducing emissions from our community activities. I'm prepared to adapt to climate change and increase community resilience, and doing that, one example would be through our floodplain mapping that we're currently doing.
Thank you very much. Okay, Linda, how will you support economic growth in the region?
To attract new business and create opportunity, a community must be a place where people want to live. The boundary provides an excellent quality of life. To ensure that Grand Forks continues to be a desirable place to live and do business, we need to cultivate a thriving service sector, restaurants, grocery stores, and cultural opportunities. We need to be certain that our hospital and healthcare professionals are supported to provide excellent and accessible healthcare. Having to travel out of town for basic healthcare does not meet my personal definition of accessible. Truly, no one is going to move to the boundary to work if they cannot find a place to live. We need to strongly consider how to make more housing available. So, to support economic growth in the boundary region, I will work with government and community groups to support accessible, affordable housing and accessible, reliable health care. I will advocate for policies that support the creation of more housing.
Thank you, Linda. That's 1 minute. Appreciate it. Okay, now we're moving into questions that each of you will answer. There's 2 questions that each of you will answer in the same order. And then we will move into some rotating questions. Not each candidate will be asked the same question. However, as Sean articulated, you can use your wild card, I think. Is that correct? If you'd like to respond to that question. So, Peter, first up, what do you see as the biggest issue facing our regional district in the next 4 years?
I think the biggest issue we have is what we're doing with the Ruckle addition and all the, I call it the Hadrian's Wall there. It's kind of like a wall that, because what that happens, I used to live on a floodplain, and when the area floods, it comes from the ground up. Those berms are not going to do nothing. So I'm just saying, like, I think we have all the infrastructure there. There's a need for housing. Why not do something with that area instead of turning it into a park when we already have a park and they're basically kind of destroying it. And I want to hold like a moratorium on what's going on with that whole situation and call a vote for the city of what we're going to do with that area, because there's a need for housing and there's already the streets and infrastructure all in place, and they're just going to bulldoze over it. And some of that's very valuable real estate, and it could be something for the tax base if we turn that into residential, if it's not too late, I don't know.
Okay, thank you, Peter. So same question to you, Dana, and again, I should have been more specific, 1 minute per question. Dana, what do you see as the biggest issue facing our regional district in the next 4 years?
Thank you. I believe the biggest issue is keeping our tax requisition down for our citizens. None of us can afford higher taxes. And during the last 2 budget seasons, I've shown that I've been responsible at going through our budgets line by line and reducing expenses where I could. For example, my advertising budget. I don't feel I need to advertise, so I took thousands of dollars away from that budget to keep our tax requisitions as low as possible.
Thank you. Yeah.
You talk about lowering taxes, but you want to put a community center which is going to raise our taxes. So you're kind of contradicting yourself, I would say.
Thank you. Okay, Linda, 1 minute to answer. What do you see as the biggest issue facing our regional district in the next 4 years?
I feel that the biggest issue that I see facing the regional district in the next 4 years is possibly land use, although that also covers more than one house on farmland. I think about all the people who are moving here from out of town. Not everybody farms. We want to farm, that's why we moved here. We have people moving in from Vancouver and moving into rural Grand Forks, and they're not farmers. We need to balance everyone's needs and ensure our local food supplies, but ensure quality of life, accessibility, and that everyone is heard. Not everyone farms, not everyone has to. Rural Grand Forks needs to be home for everyone.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to the next question again, in the same order. Peter, we'll start with you. 1 minute to answer. Describe what important relationship the Area D Director must have with other levels of government and how you will be a team player in these relationships.
Well, I plan to work with Interior Health and dealing with the whatever healthcare matters come arise. And whatever other institutions that come my way, I'll deal with them as they come. That's basically what my job is to do.
Thank you very much. Okay, Dana, you're up next. What important relationships the Area D Director must have with other levels of government and how you will be a team player in these relationships.
Thank you. I do have a strong relationship with various levels of government. I've been a strong supporter of our city and have attended many of their meetings recently in the last couple of years. I have a very good relationship with our MLA, Rolly Russell. I've been in contact with Katrine Conroy and also spoken with Minister Adrian Dix, who's Minister of Health. I want to continue these sort of relationships at the higher levels of government to keep our voice heard at a larger level so that we can get the help that we need. Thank you.
Thank you, Dana. Okay, Linda, next, I'll read the question again. Describe what important relationship the Area D Director must have with other levels of government and how you will be a team player in these relationships.
I see being a director as being about collaborating and listening, being prepared, and networking. Networking is the strongest part. The relationship with my fellow directors from Area E and Area A, relationships with the regional district staff, relationships with the city and the administration of the city. It is very interesting for me to try and answer this question when I have very little idea of how things work in the boundary. But you need to be prepared, you need to pay attention, and you need to work with people.
Thank you very much. Okay, now we're going to move into a set of rotating questions. So Peter, you're up first. Again, 1 minute. What experience or skill set will you bring to the position of Regional Director?
Well, I've had a trailer park and I've dealt with homeless people for many years, so I'll bring that to the table. I believe I've got some ideas about how to deal with the homeless problem. And I think that's one of our major issues that a lot of towns have been facing. And like I said, I've got experience dealing with it, and I've got some ideas. I guess I can tell you now if you want to hear them.
That's the time. You got 30 seconds.
Okay. My proposal is I'm going to use that place up on Motocross, I guess it's called, and we're going to put a fence around it and let them all live in there. Put a couple dumpsters, a couple porta potties in there, and let them put their trailers. They can keep all their trash compacted in one area or whatever, because they do accumulate a lot of things. And that's just part of being an addictive behavior, you know, kind of thing. So I've dealt with homeless people, so I've got a lot of ideas about how to deal with them. And
Okay,
I'll
thank
bring
you,
that to
Peter.
the table.
1 minute. Thank you so much, Peter. Dana, 1 minute to answer. Share your thoughts on what innovative projects would enhance life in the region.
Innovative projects that will enhance our life here is one thing that I've been working on is secondary housing in the ALR region. I've been an outspoken voice for many years about this particular issue. There's many decommissioned homes in our area that could be recommissioned, and it is within the province's regulations. It's time now to update these bylaws and our official community plan so that we can make it easier to have secondary homes. This will help farmers with extra income and security and workers on their properties. Another innovative project would be just to support our local recreation. The arena, the curling rink, the pool, these are all facilities that we all use. We need these to have a good standard of living, and I want to continue supporting these facilities and our recreation.
Thank you very much. You already used your wild card. Sorry, you can only use the wild card once. Yeah. Okay, so Linda, your question, 1 minute to answer. What is your position on the community center / referendum question?
My position is that this requires long, hard thought. We know we need a new community center. It's been pointed out that we don't have a senior center. This is a big issue. But I am not certain that there is enough space to add more to that particular location. I've heard that parking is tight. If we add another building on there, what happens to access to parking? Would it be better to wait a few years and then replace the whole thing? I don't know, but it's an interesting thought.
Thank you. Okay, so now we're moving into closing statements. Again, in speaking order, 1 minute each, and we will start with Peter.
So one big thing, I'm kind of like, the RDKB has been known for being hard on building permits and stuff like that and invading into people's lives, and I'm for people doing what they want with their land, because at the end of the day, they pay the taxes and the RDKB doesn't put food on their table. So I'm all about erring on the side of the landowner. And as far as landfill reform, like I said, I believe we should be able to get building materials, bring back the reuse center. And I know how to deal with homeless problems, and I bring that to the table. And the senior center, there's nothing good for seniors in this town. They have a little place down by the park, and they got to share it with the Métis Council. You know, I want to have these are our fathers and mothers. You know, and we don't just
Peter.
throw away a key, you know? Okay,
Thank
that's
you.
it.
1 minute, thank you. Thank you so much. Okay, Dana, up next, closing statement, 1 minute.
I want to thank everyone who attended this evening and all the people who took the time to submit questions. I hope I've been able to confirm why my experience and energy are the right choice to continue representing the residents of rural Grand Forks. I've planned discussions with Interior Health that can only continue if re-elected. Electing another representative will stop these discussions and remove your voice with your concerns about reopening the acute care beds. I will continue working on developing a community forest, growing our economy, speaking up for healthcare, recreation, tourism, and agriculture, and supporting our local volunteer organizations and housing development. There is no learning curve with me. I understand the conduct and role of being a representative for our area, and we need to continue this momentum. I have done an outstanding job, and I encourage you to vote for me. Thank you for the opportunity you've given me in the last 2 years, and I look forward to serving you and being your voice for our community.
Thank you, Dana. Okay, next up, Linda, 1 minute closing statement.
I am seeking my place in this new community. I cannot think of a better way to serve my new community than becoming Area D Director. Fresh eyes may see new solutions to old problems. As Area D Director, I will stand for everyone who lives in Royal Grand Forks. There are many people who are new here who do not farm, and yet they love this valley too. I will help everyone help themselves. While I strongly believe that farming is the heart of our valley, we need programs and services that support all residents. Being director is about representing everyone. As a community, we need ongoing discussions about healthcare, community services, accessible and affordable housing, as well as how best to do business without harming our environment. As Area D Director, I will work with the people of the boundary for the people of the boundary. Thank you.
Thank you, Linda, and thank you all of you. That completes the all candidates forum for electoral area D, regional district Kootenay boundary. We'll have about a 10-minute break before we come back and reconvene for school trustees. So feel free to wander around and come back.
All right, folks, we're going to start for School District 51 trustees now. Andrew Zwicker is going to be here and he's going to be moderating it. Now, the same rules apply. Sorry for those that have heard this, but there are newcomers. So there are some rules for the candidates, and they've drawn their order, and they're seated in this order. Now, each candidate will have 2 minutes to make their opening statement, and 1 minute for a closing statement, and 1 minute for a question. If candidates continue to go over their allotted time, they may lose their opportunity to answer future questions or give closing statements, so keep that in mind. Candidates are all asked to not interrupt other candidates' opening or closing statements or during question period. Each candidate will also have 1 yellow card. This allows them to respond to any candidate's answer with a 1 minute statement of their own. They can each use only this card once, however, more than one candidate may use their card to respond in sequence. Now, the moderator will direct questions to the appropriate candidate, and the questions have been pre-submitted and screened for relevance. Not all the candidates will receive the same questions. So the moderator can rule or rule out any person, candidate, or audience member who uses this public forum for slander or attack of any person, whether they're here or not. The chair has the authority to dismiss any candidate from the stage for misconduct or remove audience members for these actions. Okay, now with that said, Andrew is ready to take it over, and ladies, just keep in mind, be close to the mic, because if you're far away, they won't be able to hear it, and we are recording this, so you'll want to be able to pick up on the cameras for later.
Thank you, Sean. Hello, everybody. My name's Andrew with the Boundary Chamber of Commerce. So we might as well dive right into it. Good luck, everybody. Let's start out with Larissa on this side. We'll have our opening statements first. Have your 2 minutes. Take it away.
With gratitude, I would like to acknowledge the Interior Salish people whose unceded territory we reside on. I also acknowledge the enduring presence of all First Nations, Inuit, and Métis people. May we always live and care for these lands with respect. My name is Larissa Van Mark, and I am running for the position of SD51 School Trustee, City of Grand Forks. This is a position I have held for the last 4 years, and I'm seeking another 4-year term. I grew up in Grand Forks, the eldest of 4 kids, raised by our parents, Larry and Nina Zibin. I attended John A. Hutton Elementary School and then graduated from Grand Forks Secondary School. My husband Corey and I are now raising our twins, Ethan and Eleanor, here, where they have just started grade 4. 4 years ago, our children were just entering the school system, and I was excited to become a school trustee and take on all the challenges that came with the position. I was fortunate to work with dedicated, passionate fellow trustees, as well as learn from SD1's current superintendent, Anna Lotard, and Secretary-Treasurer, Miranda Burdock. Our children in SD51 are very fortunate to have such wonderful administrators, teachers, support staff, and trustees in our district. I believe that I still have a lot of purposeful work to do as a school trustee, and I feel I'm just getting started on this work. Implementation of our current district strategic plan is vital to make our kids successful, and I want to see our hard work through. I want to always have our kids in mind when making board decisions and keep focusing on our following strategic directions: equity, inclusion, and belonging, strong voice and agency, wellness and resilience, and community connections.
Thank you, Larissa. Okay, moving down the line, Jamie, 2 minutes for your opening statement.
My name is Jamie Massey, and I'm seeking re-election as a school trustee in the city of Grand Forks. I'm a longtime resident of Grand Forks, being raised and living here for the last 40 plus years. My eldest son graduated from GFSS in June of this year, and my younger child currently attends Fred Walker Development Center. I am fortunate to have been a school trustee in School District 51 for the last 4 years. Having come from a background of various volunteer positions in the community, including many years as an executive member of the PAC at Purley Elementary, I had a good idea of the commitment and investments required to do the job of a trustee well. Having spent my children's youngest years involved in their school community, volunteering with the breakfast program, PAC-related activities, or supervising students throughout the day, it became evident to me that being a voice for students in education was the next best step for me. I spent the majority of my school career struggling as a learner, and it became evident that I was most definitely not alone in my experience, particularly when it came to my children, who happened to be neurodivergent learners. The more research I did and the more conversations I had with parents, the more I felt compelled to do what I could to represent the students in our schools. I'm most passionate about supporting students who are neurodivergent learners or have diverse abilities, students who are children or youth in care, or those who struggle with mental health, students who are part of our LGBTQ2S and Indigenous communities, and students who struggle with food security. There's more evidence all the time that these things all affect a student's ability to learn, and that really encourages us to look at education from more of a global viewpoint, educating the whole student while embracing their diversity. Education as a whole is on the cusp of some very major changes. We've started to see a shift in what education means, truth and reconciliation through education, and the addition of childcare to the Ministry of Education's purview are just the tip of the iceberg. In short, I'm proud to be a voice representative of the needs not only in my hometown, but the district as a whole. I want nothing more than to continue being a voice not only for our diverse rural district within itself, but to continue representing our district and its unique challenges on a provincial level. Thank you.
Thank you, Jamie. Next for our opening statement, we have Randy down at the end. 2 minutes for you, Randy.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you for coming out and joining us tonight. I'm Randy Nunn. I'm the parent of 4 boys that are or have been students in School District 51 from kindergarten to graduation. 2 of my children are at GFSS, and my youngest is in grade 4 at Purley. I am invested in my children's education, and I hope to be a strong advocate for all students in our school district. I will work hard with the other trustees on the board to ensure that the social, emotional, and educational needs remain a top priority. So why should you vote for me? First, I've had a wide variety of experience on boards and in other governance positions. I was on the board of director for Little People's Center, and I served for 4 years as a board of director at Boundary Family and Individual Services, including time as a treasurer. I was also a chief shop steward, vice president, and treasurer of our local hospital employees union for 4 years. I was also recently elected as a board of director to the Grand Forks District and Savings Credit Union, also known as GFCU. Second, my experience as a director for the credit union as well as a treasurer in our local unions and for Boundary Family and Individual Services. I have learned the financial aspects of organizations, including annual budgets and allocations of funds. In these positions, I am or have been responsible for overseeing operational budgets of anywhere between $2 million and $300 million in members' assets. Most importantly, I care deeply about our community and our children. I have owned a licensed daycare. I've been a foster parent for the Ministry of Children and Family Development, as well as a vice president of Hutton PAC. I've worked in healthcare for 20 years in various positions, from a community support worker, mental health and addictions, brain injury rehabilitation, extended care, and home support. Currently, I'm working at our local vet's office, supporting your family's pets and animals. And finally, in all these various positions and roles, I continue to educate myself. I've taken courses to learn how to best represent and support people's social, economic...
And that's our time right there. So, Brandon, that's our 2 minutes. Okay, up next we've got 3 pre-prepared questions, one for each of you guys here. We'll have 1 minute each this time going through. We'll start back with Larissa. So, Larissa, how do you plan on working with the other trustees to ensure our concerns are discussed and considered when the board makes a decision?
A board only works if it is a cohesive, unified team working together. That being said, we will not always unanimously agree on all issues. How will I ensure your concerns are discussed and considered when making board decisions? Well, I will work with fellow trustees by respecting, listening, and supporting them. I will welcome input from every board member. I will listen actively and communicate openly. I will stay focused on our goals and avoid getting sidetracked. My success as a trustee is completely dependent on the success of my team, my board. If we don't work together, we will not be successful.
Okay, moving on to Jamie. Jamie, this question is for you. Sure. Yeah, and you'll have 1 minute for this question as well. So what do you see as the most pressing issues in the school district, and what is your plan to address them?
Being a rural district, we have multifaceted challenges. That being said, I feel one of the biggest challenges we face is recruitment and retention not only of teachers but EAs and many other essential positions within the district. Housing has got to be one of the #1 issues that prospective employees run into when considering a position within our district. We discuss this regularly at the board table, often brainstorming ideas that we might find the ultimate plan to alleviate housing issues for our staff. I don't have an easy answer for this challenge, but I do know that this subject is a top-tier concern for your board, and they are working towards a solution that is not likely to stop anytime soon.
Okay, up next in this round we have Brandy. What qualifies you to be a school trustee?
My roles in healthcare, brain injury support, and mental health and addiction roles. I have been a proven team player who has worked with multiple government, provincial, and local agencies such as the Ministry of Children and Family Development, Boundary and Family Individual Service Society, Interior Health, and the Ministry of Finance and Social Economic Development to provide the best outcome for our clients and care providers, advocating for their needs and using every resource that is available to best support them in their social, financial, emotional, and physical needs. From my role with the union and my experience sitting on multiple boards, I have become educated in governance, financial statements, funding allocations, and granting programs. In these roles, I've never lost sight of supporting, advocating, and fighting for what is right and the importance of your own voice. In each role I have had, I have proven empathy, dedication, fairness, and compassion, which has allowed me to be humble and true to my beliefs. I fully understand that a board consists of various voices with various backgrounds, but I
And
also...
that is time. Okay, moving into the next section, we'll have a different question for each here. We'll go around with 2 questions. And I remind the candidates, you do have your yellow wild card, so at any time after someone has given their response, if you'd like to respond to the response, feel free to hold up your wild card, and we'll each get that once through the evening. And you can also hold up a wild card to someone else's wild card if you want to reply to a reply. Okay, so let's jump in. Larissa, we'll come back and start with you here. How do you plan to ensure that our school and board will be responsive to diverse communities and create equity and inclusion in schools?
How do we create equity and inclusion in schools? To me, this means making sure that every student has the resources and support that they need to be successful. We need to understand our students and provide targeted support. For example, providing technology for visually impaired or hearing impaired students, or giving students with ADHD a quiet space to complete an assignment, making our playgrounds and schools more accessible for students, having food available for breakfast and lunch for kids so their bodies will be fueled and ready to learn. When we provide these supports for our students, we will create equity and inclusion in our schools.
Thank you. I'll give you a wild card from Jamie.
I feel the best thing we can do to address diversity and equity and inclusion in schools is to be connected and approachable. This is one of the reasons that there are trustee liaisons for the schools in the district, as well as being connected to various other groups and communities in our community, such as the Recreation Commission and the Indigenous Education Advisory Committee. It's not authentic if we're representing groups that we aren't actively listening to.
Okay, Jamie, coming back to you here with the next question. What are your financial priorities if elected?
Financial priorities. Well, it's one of the biggest things that we try to do as a board is to make sure that we are spending the budget that we get on the kids that are in front of us. So remaining in that focus, making sure that we are meeting the students of the needs that are in our schools, regardless of any sort of challenges that they have going on. there's actually a pretty small percentage of our budget that is allocated not to staffing or running the buildings. So we try to make sure that we're supporting the students in the schools the best that we can.
Okay, Brandy, moving down the line. How would you work to make the school board more effective?
Definitely by being part of a team, having a voice, advocating for all the needs, as well as attending PAC meetings, being at a presence on a children's level and adult level with teachers and staffing.
Okay. Coming back up to Larissa. In the development of a strategic plan, what goals and objectives would guide your decision making?
So in SD 51, we do have a strategic plan. It was developed back in 2016, but it might be 18. And we're constantly working on those things. Food security to me is the biggest thing that we look at. The second thing would be mental health for our kids and our staff in our school districts. And just keep supporting those two initiatives. We shouldn't have any kids be hungry in our schools. Putting food for breakfast and lunch helps our kids' brains be fueled and helps them just be more engaged with school. Mental health, after 2 years of COVID, our staff and our students really took a hit with mental health. We've added in more supports for that, and we continue to focus on that until mental health can at least come back up to what it was before COVID.
And that's the time. Okay, Jamie, what is your previous experience working in or volunteering with the school district or other youth organizations?
I was an executive member of the PAC for, 7 years or so at Pearly Elementary, and I held a position of vice president and president for a number of years. I actually worked for SD 51 as a noon hour supervisor. I was a multi-hour supervisor. I was in the schools quite a bit, communicating with the kids, with the staff, and connecting on that sort of level, so I could kind of have an idea of how things ran in the school and to kind of see some of the spots that needed help. I ran the breakfast program at Pearly Elementary, and that's kind of the most of it took up a lot of my time, other than raising my 2 kids.
Okay, last question in this section for Brandy. How would you improve transparency to ensure that parents get pertinent information that helps improve outcomes?
Definitely transparency is huge. I know a lot of the in-meetings can make sure that the minutes are available to the public. Definitely being open to being approached and discussing any issues with parents or students. Making sure that any choice I made, I'm discussing it, or conversations are on a trustee level, working amongst the team.
Excellent. Thank you, everyone. We'll now move on to our closing statements here. You'll each have 1 minute this go around, and we'll start back in the same order with Larissa first. So Larissa, take it away, 1 minute.
If I'm elected to serve another 4 years as school trustee Grand Forks, my focus will lie with continuing the district's Food for Students and Families program, as well as making sure the breakfast and lunch programs continue in all our schools. No child should start their school day hungry in our school district, and we will always have funding for food programs. I will continue to support our outdoor education program. Getting kids outdoors to learn makes them more engaged and helps them connect and respect their environment and their communities. I'm proud to say that SD 51 is one of the first districts in BC to have a full-time outdoor education teacher. I believe in an inclusive education. I want to ensure that all of our students are experiencing belonging, safety, and security in our schools, regardless of their race, sex, or gender. I will constantly ensure that our schools in SD 51 are a safe place where all our kids will get the knowledge and skills they need so that they can contribute to a healthy society. Our kids are our
And
future.
that's time. Okay, Jamie, your chance here. 1 minute final closing statement.
In closing, I would ask that each of you consider who best represents your families, your children, and our unique district's interests when it comes time to vote. Consider experience, investment, and commitment. I put my name forward to show up and continue to be heard for my family and yours.
Thank you, Jamie. And Brandy, your turn here. 1 minute closing statement.
Tonight you've heard from a panel of amazing people. James sadly couldn't make it, but it would have been great to hear his views as well. Each one of us has a unique sense of leadership and strength to offer. Being a school board trustee is part of being a team that overcomes hurdles and adapts to find compromises while maintaining the focus on the children and their education. I do come from a varied background of healthcare, brain injury, mental health addictions, and community support. I have the training to understand childhood trauma, the importance of children's development, and the reality around the crisis of mental health and addiction struggles with our youth in Grand Forks. Community-wide, I've served on multiple boards, and on these boards, I've taken part in leadership, finances, and governance trainings. On my previous healthcare job, I served as a union chief shop steward for over 4 years and represented over 100 workers. I was also elected as a provincial vice president for a 2-year term, which during that time, I had a very high involvement and lots of training. Most importantly, though, I'm a mother
That's
of 4
time.
boys.
Thanks, Larissa, Jamie, and Brandy. We'll pass it back to Sean.
Thank you, Andrew. All right, ladies, thank you. And folks, so we'll be back at 6:30. It's a little earlier, but we'll be back at 6:30 for the mayoral candidates, and then followed by the council candidates as well. So go do what you got to do, and we'll see everybody back here shortly. So these questions were pre-submitted by the public to keep this meeting on track and questions relevant. So we encourage those that have further questions, of course, to reach out to everyone here that's on this stage for questions that you may have specifically for specific candidates. Now, of course, voting day is October 15th earlier this year, and it's early voting on October 5th. Now, these candidates were sent the rules prior to the event, but we'll just do a quick review for new audience members and for the candidates that haven't already been on the stage. So our moderator and our chair for the event is Andrew Zwicker, and he's here from the Chamber of Commerce. So thank you, Andrew, for doing this. Let's give him a round of applause. Now the moderator will read the questions without bias, and our executive, Sarah, will be keeping time. Now the rules are the candidates have drawn, and that is where they're seated based on that. Now due to the number of candidates and the position of mayor and council of Grand Forks, it's been broken down now into 3 groups. So we've got the mayors, and then we're going to have current councilors, and then we're going to have those that are, mayors, current, and then returning. So, and then new council. So each group will be allotted the same amount of time. And of course the mics too, because we're limited on those. So each candidate is going to have 2 minutes to make an opening statement, 1 minute for closing statements, and then 1 minute per question. Now, if candidates do go over their allotted time and continue, they may lose the opportunity to answer future questions or give any closing statements, so keep that in mind. Candidates are also asked to not interrupt other candidates, opening, closing statements, or during any questions. Now, each candidate is going to have some yellow cards here. This allows them to respond to a candidate's answer and then a 1 minute statement of their own. And they can each only use this card once. However, more than one candidate may use their card to respond in sequence to that. That all makes sense. The moderator will then direct the questions to the appropriate candidate, and questions have been pre-submitted and screened as well. So the moderator here, he can rule out of order on any person, candidate, or audience member as well who uses this public forum to slander, attack any person present or not. So the chair has the authority to dismiss any candidate from the stage for misconduct, but we don't see that happening. So with that said, we ask everybody to sit back, enjoy themselves, and play nice in the sandbox. Andrew, it's your turn, so let's get the show started.
Okay, let's go. Thanks, Sean. All right, best of luck, candidates out there. We're going to start off with your 2 minute opening statement here, and we'll start up on this end with Mr. Dan Sharkey.
All right, thank you very much, want to just, first of all, start out by telling you guys, I really appreciate everybody showing up here. I'm new to the area here, been here about 2 years. My wife and I, we own a shop downtown on 2nd Street. I'm sure it's been advertised around, but business is what my passion is. But the other part of the passion that I actually want to bring to this town is the fact that I really love the people in this town. I've had a chance to meet so many of you that come in out of our business. We talked, they've shared with us a lot of their concerns, and it kind of registered with us. We actually thought, you know, something that we could say and help this little community, why not try to be part of it? Somebody approached me and said, why don't you put your name in for mayor? I'm not a politician, I've never done this before. But I know that I have the passion and the heart for trying to go ahead and try to lead this town into something that we can actually see some growth and some vitality. I'd like to see some improvements downtown. I'm not in for huge changes, I don't believe in that. I just really want to just prove to you guys that we can do this as a group, as a body of people, and I want to listen to what everything you have to say. If you vote for me, Stan Sharkey. Thank you.
Thank you, Stan. All right, moving right along. Dana, you have your 2 minutes for your opening statement.
I want to begin with the land acknowledgement. I acknowledge and appreciate that the land on which we are gathering is the converging traditional and unceded territory of the Slicks, Secwepemc, and Sinixt peoples, as well as the Métis peoples whose footsteps have marked these lands. Tomorrow is the day of truth and reconciliation. Please take time to reflect on our history of what occurred in residential schools. Let's continue to reveal the truth about what happened to the children, survivors, families, communities, and anyone affected by the residential school system. I would also like to address my position on running for re-election as the RDKB Director for Rural Grand Forks and the Mayor of the city. If elected, I intend on holding both positions. There is no conflict of interest, and both positions go hand in hand, complementing each other. I can do both, and by doing both, I can continue building a solid relationship between both areas to help us move forward efficiently and effectively, especially in economic development, healthcare, tourism, and housing development. We are one community, so let us work together. I've been a resident of the area for 20 years, volunteered and supported every group that's reached out. I'm a mother of twins +1, and I understand the need for fairness, and I intend to be fair to all the residents of the area. For the past 2 years, I've regularly attended the Committee of the Whole meetings, as well as City Council meetings, presenting reports and participating in discussions where appropriate. I'm familiar and comfortable with taking the mayor's position and chairing meetings, and my experience as area director is the equivalent of being a mayor. As an executive, I've represented our whole area professionally, and I've gone above and beyond by stepping forward on the hospital board and local government associations. I've spoken to various provincial ministries and made our needs very clear. I understand the concerns of the city's residents about budgets.
Thanks, Dana. Okay, up next we have Alec Brownlee. Alec, you've got your 2 minutes. Take it away.
Hi, I'd like to thank everybody for coming out to see me. I have a sense of humor. I'm just new to town, about 1.5 years, last July actually. So I've come from Chetwynd, where I served 2 terms on council. And when I moved into town here, we started talking to people, and there seemed to be a disconnection between the town people and the council. And I thought, somehow that just didn't look right to me. I want you to be able to feel like if I will have an open door policy, and I want to keep everybody involved, or at least informed as to what is going on in City Hall, and make sure that what you want done in town is done. Thanks.
Thank you, Alec. And finishing the first round here, we have Everett Baker. Everett, you've got 2 minutes.
Thank you. This is obviously not my first rodeo here. So anyway, for those who don't know me, my name is Everett Baker. I was elected to Grand Forks City Council in the 2020 by-election. My family and I own and operate the Grand Forks Funeral Home. I've been married to my wonderful wife for 41 years. I have 3 grown children, 4 grandchildren, and a great-grandchild, if you can believe that. I'm a strong believer in volunteerism and have volunteered on many boards throughout the province in Grand Forks. For over the past 10 years, I worked in provincial politics alongside our past MLA, Linda Larson. I was president of the Legion, president of the Food Bank, chaired the Grand Forks Social Services Advisory Group, and served as coordinator for the Grand Forks International Baseball. As a city councillor, I am appointed the liaison to Minister Eby and BC Housing, Sergeant Pepler in the RCMP, the Senior Society, Columbia Basin Alliance for Literacy, Minister Dixon Interior Health, and I also served as the alternate representative for a regional district. I support the building of a community center, but my concerns are about the cost. That's why I voted to hold a referendum on borrowing, because it's your tax dollars. Infrastructure is the heartbeat of this growing and prosperous city. Needs to be upgraded. I will work with City Council, City staff to plan and fund the upgrades to downtown and throughout Grand Forks. I'll continue to be your voice for affordable housing in Grand Forks. Our partnership with the Osoyoos Indian Band to relocate flood housing and new buildings is a positive move for our city. I'll continue to work with BC Housing and Wholeway House to build senior housing. Our needs for rental housing, healthcare workers for our growing community. I'll continue to advocate with provincial and federal governments to complete the flood protection. I support industry, small business, and tourism to keep our jobs local.
That's time. Okay, thanks everyone. Moving into the next section here, we've got a set of 10 questions ahead of time. We're going to run through with a different question for each for the first 2, and then the final question, you'll each have a chance to all answer the same question. Oh, sorry. Never mind, I'm going to back that up one round. We're going to do the preset questions first. So we're going to start about this end with Stan again. So Stan, what does a sustainable future for our community look like?
Yeah, that's a sustainability. We've heard that term quite a bit lately. And I think that's one of the things that, as a little town, we get so busy, we just don't really realize that there is growth that's happening. We got to be able to stay up with the growth that's changing this little community here. I can actually see that for sustainability, we basically have our bases covered here for the most part, for the short haul anyways. If you look at what we're trying to achieve in this town, what I found is for sustainability, you've got to have building blocks. You got to put things together. It's like a good foundation. It starts with, because I believe growth and sustainability go hand in hand. If we build it right, we build this little town right, we can actually, as a body of people, as a community
That's
effort.
time. I'll just remind you guys, for this round we have one minute each for the answers, and we do have our wild card, so if you want to respond to someone else's question, throw up that wild card. Otherwise, we'll move down to Dana here. Your question is, where do you believe social support services, like the soup kitchen, supportive houses, shelter, belong in our community?
Thank you for that. I believe as compassionate humans, we need to look after one another. The city has an employee that reaches out and encourages our homeless to use the shelter and find mental health services. I will continue to support this position. I'm grateful that we have volunteer organizations like the Food Bank, Gospel Chapel, the Food School programs, and the Community Kitchen. I plan to continue our forward motion, working with BC Housing to build homes for those that need shelter so that they can have a safe place to be. I do not want to see anyone struggling, hungry, and homeless in our community.
Thank you, Dana. And moving on to Alec. Alec, your question is, what do you see as the most pressing concern in the business community?
Well, that was a good question, as I don't have a business in the town, so I took it upon myself yesterday to walk around, and I see a few faces in here. There's places I stopped and I asked the question, that exact question, and I got, if I take the 4 talking on parking, so I believe we shouldn't close the streets down again. It didn't really fly as good as they thought it would. Lighting on Main Street, on Market, and the homeless hanging out on the main drag after darkness, and of course the light would help there. That's what else was there? The 4th one. Oh, infrastructure. Oh, yeah, sorry. That's one of my main platform is the
And
infrastructure.
that's time. Thank you, Alec. Okay, Everett, your question is, what is your plan to increase the availability of more housing options for our community?
Thanks, Andrew. Actually, council is already have got this situation kind of already started. We've approved, I believe, almost 250 new homes that are going to be built here in Grand Forks. One is a townhouse complex across from Tomcat. There's a Chuck's development up a little further. We have the railway grade that is looking to put housing there along the old railway grade. And of course, our work with the Osoyoos Indian Band to move the houses from Rockall, to keep them from the landfill, to move them up and to develop a community up there. And then the land next to it is set aside for senior housing. I've always been a defender of housing, and I've always put that as a key moving forward. And so things like lane housing, small housing, as long as it's built within the code.
That's time. Okay, now we'll move into the 3-question round. So we will have 2 questions each here. Each one is going to be a different question, and then for the final question, we'll let each 4 of you all have a chance at the same question. But we will start back up here with Stan. So Stan, your question is, do you believe that City Hall currently operates effectively? And if so, why or why not? And where is there room for improvement?
Yeah, City Hall, I'll be honest with you, I don't have much to do with City Hall. I don't hear much about it. What is that saying? I don't know if it is actually acting effectively. But what I'm hearing back from people that have been coming in, they've been sharing with me, they'd like to see some changes with City Hall. So I'm actually hoping that with us trying to create this change here, we have to bring fresh new ideas here. And I think that all of us can agree that new ideas can actually improve your community here, and that's what I'm intending to do.
Thanks, Stan. Okay, Dana, your question is, what do you believe should be the city's infrastructure priorities for this term?
With regards to infrastructure priorities, I believe that the downtown area needs a lot of work with its underground infrastructure, and I know that that's a very big budget item. So we need to have that infrastructure so that we can be prepared to expand and continue to grow into the future. I do want to see expansion of all the infrastructure so that we can continue adding more housing developments and be able to support additional people coming to our community.
Thank you, Dana. And Alec, what does a sustainable future for our community look like?
A sustainable future for the community. We need to attract large businesses. I'm not sure how. We need an economic development officer out there pushing for growth, getting businesses that possibly are going to set up in another town and say, look, Grand Forks is here, maybe possibly some tax breaks to draw them in. And I think that's about it.
Thank you, Alec. Okay, Everett, your question is, do you feel there is underutilized funds in the current city budget? And if so, please cite specific areas where you would reduce funding.
We have a pretty aggressive budget program that we as council and city staff go through. We work on it in November. We put it out to the public. I don't know of a particular area which I think that if there was an area where I'd like to see some money concentrated to, I certainly would say infrastructure is certainly something that we're going to have to work with. That's a long-term plan. We need to set the plan in place and we need to stick to it. And so that I think is probably, if there was an area I think we could spend a little bit more concentration is infrastructure.
Okay, coming back up to Stan here. So Stan, as mayor, what will you do to reduce crime in our community?
Well, that's actually a really good question. I think that I think we're being oversold on the crime part of it. I don't really see big crime. I see pockets of possible troubles with some of the homeless that they just got nowhere to go. They have nowhere to turn. Actually, I'll be honest with you, my heart goes out for them. I would like to see something done about that situation. As far as actual real crime, maybe petty theft stuff, maybe some D&Es, bikes getting stolen, I haven't really seen anything that warrants huge action. I think the RCMP got their hands full, and actually my hat goes off. And thank you.
Thank you, Stan. And Dana, as mayor, how will you retain and increase the current hospital services?
I love this question. As you may know, I am the local representative for the local hospital board for our region. I have had communications with Interior Health, and I have plans to have future meetings with Interior Health. I've been supporting the $10,000 signing bonus for local employees, nurses joining our hospital, and I plan to increase our recreation in our area to help bring a good lifestyle that'll bring doctors and nurses to our area so that they can have a good lifestyle. Everything that I've been doing has been working with the hospital and trying to get more people there, and I really want to open those acute care beds immediately. I look forward to those conversations and moving forward in that direction.
Okay, Alec, your second question here is, what have you done to prepare for the role of mayor?
What have I done to prepare? Well, I've run a campaign. I've been on council in Chetwynd for 2 years, 2 terms, 7 years. I've tried to make myself known in town as best I could. Be a new year. There's a lot of new faces I don't recognize, and probably you don't recognize mine. So I've put myself out, gone door to door where I could, and will continue to do so that I get to be well known. So, thanks.
Thank you, Alec. And Everett, your second question here is, what is your position on the community center and the biggest negative or positive effect you think it might have on the community?
I kind of addressed this in the opening remarks. I actually very strongly support the community center. I think it is a very valuable, look at where we're meeting here. It is a valuable necessity for our community. I am concerned with the costs. That is where my biggest concern lies. We're going to have to do some real budgeting around infrastructure, and I'm not sure if this is the right time to spend. That's my biggest concern. And so in relationship to that, that's why we voted for the referendum, to let you as citizens tell us, do you want us to borrow that money to build the community center? If your answer is yes, as your mayor, I will build it. If you say no, then what I'm going to do is try to look for some other way that we can have a community center, but not at the cost.
We've got a wildcard here, Danny. Take it away, you've got 1 minute.
Thank you. I've been part of the stakeholders meetings for many years with regards to the community center, and I understand the great need that we have. I have attended funerals where people have had to stand outside because there's no room in the building where the funeral's taking place, and that's not very good. I've also been to lots of events where you just can't have everyone there because we need a larger space. I do understand the cost is astronomical, but there is gas tax funding that has been set aside in the regional district budget. There's also potential on getting grant money for infrastructure development from the federal government. Hopefully, if the referendum passes, if that's the wishes of the people, we could look into getting these federal grants, and we have potential on having this facility that is very needed in our community. It'll also operate as an emergency operations center that we need. Last time we had a big emergency, all the officials were crowded into a standing room only building, and that's not an efficient way to deal with an emergency.
We've got one more wild card on the end with Everett. Everett, you got 1 minute.
Very quickly. $1 million a year, 30 years.
Thank you, Everett. And we got one more wild card with Alec.
I believe we should have a community center as well, but only if we get the backing from the federal and provincial governments. To handle it on our own as a small community like this, it's a big undertaking for a long time to come.
And Stan with the wild card as well. 1 minute for Stan.
Actually, I would concur with the rest of the panel here. I believe that we should get a community center here. I know there's extra costs involved, but I think the benefit is going to far outreach what the actual true costs are. As far as I understand, taxes aren't that bad out this way. A little extra here. My heart goes out for the community. I like to see this. I like to see growth.
Okay. Now you guys are all so quick and efficient up there, we're actually going to throw in another round of questions here for you guys. So we're going to come back up to Stan to get started. So Stan, what is your experience working with multi-levels of government, and what is your leadership style?
Zero experience. Okay, as far as it goes with the leadership style, I think that based on my life experience, I'm 63 years old, been married 43 years, raised 3 children, got 11 grandchildren. Got you on that one, Ever. Just kidding. Anyways, I think as far as leadership goes, my actions speak louder than words. So I try to actually under-promise and over-deliver. And leadership, I think, for me, just comes naturally. I just feel like this is my time, and I just need your support. I need your votes. I'm a long shot, but you know what? I'm willing to give it all, and I've got passion.
Thank you, Stan. Now, Dana, your third question here will be, do you believe that City Hall currently operates effectively? Why or why not? And where is there room for improvement?
I believe City Hall is going in the right direction with how it's operating. We have a great staff, there's great communication. Many of the councillors are back at the table regularly now that we're out of lockdown. We're able to speak in person, and I really appreciate that. I've appreciated my acceptance at coming to City Council meetings and being able to do presentations. I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought. And that happens too. So, yes, City Hall is running efficiently, but one more thing is that I would like to see increased people to come to City Hall and sit in the gallery and express your views and tell us what your needs are.
I think we've used all the wild, we're used 2 wild cards, is that correct? Okay, Alec with a wild card, you've got 1 minute.
I went to a council meeting and I agree. town council, city hall is working just fine. It's not that it's out of control, or it's just out of touch with the people. You have to be in touch. You gotta get out there and be in the community, and people see you out having coffee with you, and give them a story every week about what's happening, so that you don't get that disconnected feeling that this town seems to have with City Hall. Easy fix. In my mind, it's an easy fix.
Wild card for Everett, 1 minute for Everett.
My second. Out of my respect for my colleagues sitting beside me here, I'm downtown. I live downtown. I walk downtown to the coffee shop every day to Jogas. I have a coffee. I walk through. I talk to John. I see Amber. I talk to people. People see me. People see our councillors. Our councillors are out and about. I believe we do have an extremely high profile in our community. I'm an easy guy to find, if nothing else. So there.
Thank you, Everett. Okay, moving along. We have Alec up next. Alec, what do you believe should be the city's infrastructure priorities for this term?
Well, of course, I don't know how old the pipes are in the ground and where they're the oldest. We need to figure out where they're at, which ones are the oldest, and start there. Starting with the newest pipes, because they're a little bit bad. You've got to start. I'm thinking there's probably wooden pipes in the ground in downtown Grand Forks, and they need to get looked at now. Yes, if you're going to borrow money to fix something, borrow money to fix the infrastructure.
Thank you, Alec. And Everett, as mayor, how will you retain and increase the current hospital services?
Hospital services?
Hospital services, correct.
As the liaison to Minister Dix and to Interior Health, I have been advocating for our hospital since they took away the beds in March. 14 beds. I had a chance to address Minister Dix at the most recent UBCM. We talked about the fact that whether you go west, east, or north, we have a mountain pass that we have to go over in the wintertime. We have many seniors that are having loved ones placed outside the community that now they have to travel, oftentimes fatigued and stressed. We talked about the nursing staff. Could we find a way to bring back those nurses that we lost because of unvaccinated? And Minister Dix was very clear. He looked across the table. Neil can confirm. He looked across the table at me and said, "No, I don't think that's right. I think there's got to be a way."
Okay, final question in this round. You're all going to have a chance to answer the same question here, but we'll start up on this end with Stan again. So Stan, what are your top 3 priorities as mayor if elected?
Top 3 priorities. Number 1 is the way our town looks. It is really needing an uplift. Right from, if you drive down the highway, there is no reason to drive down any of the side streets to get down to Market Street. There's 0 reasons. It needs a total uplift. The side streets should be lit up on those, as far as the actual strings of lights going from tree to tree. We need to create something there that pulls people in. That's the one thing. Number 2 thing would be is understanding that people outside this community, they want to be part of what we're trying to do here. They want to be involved. I think the seniors here, I think they actually need to actually have some sort of a complex that they can actually meet to. And I think that's important that we keep our seniors active, somehow create activities. And number 3 thing is to understand that
That's time there. Okay, Dana, same question for you. What are your top 3 priorities if elected mayor?
My top 3 priorities would be economic development. We've had a great relationship with Community Futures, and I really hope that we can keep working with them to grow the businesses of our area. Another one is housing development. We need the houses, and I plan to work on bringing those houses to fruition, continue working with BC Housing, and continue supporting Osoyoos Indian Band and all the other developers in our area. And I do want to also make sure that we have the proper infrastructure so that we continue functioning and growing into the future.
Thank you, Dan. And Alex, same question for you as well. What are your top 3 priorities if elected mayor?
Infrastructure, communication with the public, and I believe we do need to mark our get some signs up on the highway saying, look, this is downtown's that way, because I drove through Grand Forks and there's no sign saying, hey, come on down here and we have to get it well lit.
Okay, Everett, same question down to you. What are your top 3 priorities if elected mayor?
The first one would be to continue my work with BC Housing and the new housing minister, which will soon be probably the next premier of this province, to continue to meet the social needs of our community. This has been an ongoing issue. We ran in the last election. We remember that very well. We have had social peace. We are very close to a collaborative answer to that particular problem. Infrastructure is certainly one of them. I think that's a given. We need to sit down a long-term plan. And then we talk about economic development. Rather than trying to recreate the wheel, we have the chamber, we have other groups that we are working with at the city to develop these programs and to reach out to the community and to others. We have Tim Hortons. Can you believe that? When I first came, that we would have Tim Hortons in Grand Forks finally. So those are the top 3.
And the relative here with Stan.
I love these yellow cards. My third thing, you're talking about the housing. I think that we do, definitely, I want to concur with that. We do need more housing, more rental units here. We need to have the citizens open up their doors however they can, find room, because there's lots of people who want to come to this community. Trust me, there's lots.
Okay, that brings us to the end of our questions here. We'll now move into our closing remarks. You'll each have 1 minute each, and we'll start back up on this end again with Stan. So if you'd like to go for it. 1 minute, closing remarks.
It's really simple here. Folks, you've seen the way this town's been looking for a number of years. If you want to see positive changes, if you want to see growth in this community, you want to see families move in here, you'd like to actually figure out a way that as citizens, your neighbors, get to know our neighbors again. With COVID destroying everything around, I think that it's our time now. Let's go back and regain our streets back. Let's talk to our neighbors again. Let's see what we can do and get together as a community to support the city council and myself, Mayor.
Thank you, Stan. Dan, you've also got 1 minute for your closing remark.
I want to thank everyone who attended this evening and all the people that took time to submit the questions. I hope I have confirmed why my experience and energy make me the right choice to be the next mayor of Grand Forks. I have planned discussions with Interior Health that can only continue if I hold an elected position. I do not want these discussions to stop and have the residents lose their voice regarding the reopening of the acute care beds at our hospital. I look forward to growing our community, economy, speaking up for healthcare, recreation, infrastructure, climate change, and tourism, and supporting our local volunteer organizations and housing developments. I understand the conduct and role of being a representative of our area, and I've done an outstanding job as the rural mayor. I encourage you to vote for me so I can do an outstanding job for you as well. Thank you for the opportunity you've given me to speak with you tonight, and I look forward to serving you and being your new mayor.
Thank you, Dana. And Alec, you've got 1 minute for your closing remarks.
I too want to thank everybody for coming and to listen to us all blather on here. It's been kind of indicated that, if you don't have the mayor or the council that has been running here, all those conversations with the MLAs and the ministers are all going to continue no matter what group you put in to your city council. It's still going to go on. And instead of discussing it with the present mayor, they'll be discussing it with the future mayor, which I hope will be me. The 15th, don't forget to vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Alec, and we'll finish up with Everett. You've got 1 minute for your closing remarks.
Thank you. I wanted to thank you all for coming out. I want to thank the Chamber for hosting this meeting. I would like an opportunity to continue the work that I've done for the last 2.5 years on council. We're not done yet, and I'd like to have an opportunity to finish that. But most importantly of all, your vote does count. We sometimes think in our society today that, it doesn't matter. It does. In municipal elections, it matters. You can ask from the last time that I ran. Every vote does count. And I encourage you to get out, exercise that right you have, and vote.
Thank you very much, candidates. That wraps up our first round. Okay, here we go. So we have got 5 this go around of the incumbents. We are going to start with a 2-minute opening remarks here, and we will start from the drawn order up on this end with Patrick. Patrick, would you like to go for it? Take it away.
Thank you. Thank you very much for being here tonight. My name is Patrick Goddard, and I'm seeking your support for City Council for Grand Forks. I've been living and operating my own business in Grand Forks for 52 years. I've been on the Grand Forks Council for 25 years. I took a break last election. I have chair committees dealing with electrical, finance, water, sewer, pipe, and turned a member of the Royal Canadian Legion. I want to support our seniors' housing. Get our hospital back to 7 days, 24 hours operation. I will support housing for the working low-income citizen. I want the city to become more user-friendly. I will support the new community center plan referendum. I will promote our downtown local business. Thank you very much, and I hope to have your support.
Thank you, Patrick. And a reminder to everyone, too, if you can speak in nice and close to the mic, it's especially important to get recorded on the video for folks later.
Thank you.
So up next, we have Rod Zielinski. You've got 2 minutes for your opening remarks.
Thank you very much. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for giving us the opportunity to speak to you tonight. My name is Rod Zielinski, and for those of you that don't know me, a little bit about my history. My wife and I chose Grand Forks as a great place to retire back in 2009. We weren't able to purchase the property and move to the community until 2012, but it was definitely the best move we've ever made. I came from Pincher Creek in Alberta. Over in Pincher Creek, we were able to raise 3 great kids. Both my wife and I worked full-time in the community. My job was the area foreman for Fortis, Alberta for the area. Some challenging terrain and definitely a beautiful country to work in. During my time also there in Pincher Creek, over 20 years, I was able to serve the community as a councillor for the MD of Pincher Creek. I served on council there for 14 years, 5 different councils, and it was a great learning experience. Learned about the policies, learned about crafting bylaws, about land development. Also learned about building relationships. For us there, it was usually with the federal government, Glacier National Park and Waterford National Park, or even working with the Pagan Band out of Brockett. Definitely some challenging times. Pincher Creek also went through a flood back in 1985 that destroyed a lot of the country. I know in our rural area there were about over 200 crossings wiped out, culverts and bridges mostly. So just like Pincher Creek, Grand Forks has its challenges. We talk about the old infrastructure that needs to be replaced. We talk about the lack of housing, and we have to put a background on this about being fiscally responsible and only doing what we can afford. The good thing is, I've gotten to know the people of Grand Forks, And I know set in the
That's
right
time.
direction, we can do anything.
That's it. Thank you, Rod. Up next, we've got Neil Krog. You've got 2 minutes for your opening remarks.
Sure. For those that aren't familiar with me, my name is Neil Krog. My wife and Andrea have lived in Grand Forks for over 34 years. We came through the town on our honeymoon, took one look around, loved it, went back to the coast, packed up, and moved here. I have operated a private post-secondary training agency in Grand Forks. I was also a paramedic in town for 10 years. I now own and operate a catering company, which got kind of killed by COVID. Just saying. I have served as a member of council for over 24 years. During that time, it was also a privilege to represent the city of Grand Forks at the Regional District Board and the Kootenai Boundary Hospital District Board. When it comes to platforms, everyone has the same wants. Vibrant community, clean air, water, fiscal responsibility, variety of housing, recreational activities, self-sustainability, a safe community, fully functional hospital, increased educational opportunities. The list is endless, and we're no different than other communities. In the world of local government, there are no magic wands to move forward. You need to persevere to continue to push and strive for the betterment of your community. I have been there and done that. I understand the process and the restrictions. Government is a slow-moving, bureaucratic creature with many hurdles. I value my experience working inside that system, which has been both rewarding and frustrating at the same time. What's my platform? Simple. Do what's best for that community. Better question is...
That's time there.
Okay.
Okay, up next we have Christine Thompson. Christine, you've got 2 minutes for your opening remarks.
Good evening. My name is Christine Thompson, and I would like to thank the Boundary Country Regional Chamber of Commerce for hosting this forum this evening. I have lived in Grand Forks for 65 years and have been a homeowner and taxpayer for 50 years. I am asking you to give me the opportunity to continue as one of your elected councillors. I will continue to advocate for affordable housing in our city for everyone. Individuals with mental health and addiction issues need supported housing, and I believe that this will happen. I want to ensure that the operator is chosen with council's input. The service provider must ensure that there are supports necessary to assist individuals housed. There is not a location large enough for groups such as Rotary, our local government management and elected officials associations, and other organizations to hold events. It was brought to my attention that there are not enough rooms available for sport leagues such as minor hockey to hold tournaments. It is my belief that our city is big enough to engage with hotel groups for the development of a facility that could include meeting rooms and a conference area. I will be an advocate to invite and encourage hotel groups to visit our area with a view to developing here. The provision of health care in our city is an issue. I have done some research and learned that Interior Health covers an area from Kamloops east to the Alberta border. It includes 8 regional districts, each having a regional hospital, and a board of health that deals strictly with capital projects. It is my opinion that the regional hospital boards should also deal with the operational costs associated
That's
with
time
health
there.
care.
Thank you, Christine. And up next we have Zach Eburn-Studley. You've got your 2 minutes for your opening remarks.
So nice to see so many of you out here tonight. I am Zach Eburn-Studley. I'm a lifelong resident. I'm a business owner. I'm seeking re-election just because I love the job. I had the pleasure of serving you the past 4 years. I hope to serve you another 4 years. There's lots of momentum that this council has, and I just want to sort of keep that going. We have plenty of relationships with ministries and all sorts of things, and I just want to keep that momentum going.
Okay, we've now got some preset questions here. We'll go down the line again, starting up here with Patrick. Patrick, your question is, what is your priority with respect to addressing the mental health and addiction issues that we're experiencing in our community?
Thank you. We have a big problem with drugs and mental health in Grand Forks. And if I'm like on council, I will deal with the federal government, LA, and the provincial government, mental health, and the doctor, and the RCMP, like we had 9 years ago. I was involved with Sergeant Harrison, and we did a great job at that time, but there's a lot of work to do. Mental health staff, they need more, and the RCMP too. Everybody does a good job, but there's not enough people to go around to take care of all that. So I will lobby to get some help. Thank you.
Thank you, Patrick. Okay, Rod, your question is, what does a sustainable future for our community look like?
Thanks for the question. So sustainable to me means living within our means, whether it's financially, whether it's our use of the water system, or taking the nutrients out of the ground. If we can't reuse the things or use them in a managing way so that we have something for tomorrow, it doesn't do us any good. Sustainability does not mean stagnant. I believe in a 2 to 3% growth rate for our community is not only doable, but is healthy. We just have to make sure that the infrastructure, the housing, can accept the new people coming in, and that we don't overgrow what we already have.
Moving down to Neil. Neil, your question is, how would you improve the quality of life for the youth and the seniors in our community?
Okay, I'll start backwards with the seniors, work down to the youth. I will continue advocating for increased income, safety, and housing options for seniors. When it comes to a seniors facility, we have looked at numerous options since the loss of ours. I was the one that brought forward the idea of a senior center inside the Whole Way Housing Project, and was one that constantly put it in front of BC Housing. They want a supportive housing project. We want senior housing and a new senior center. To me, it's crystal clear. Give us what we want, and then, and only then, can we discuss supportive housing. I was disappointed by comments from council. You cannot force, ask, or demand the provincial government do something. I can. Instead, we ended up with a give them what they want, and then they might give us what we want. So work on supportive housing first, then see if they would fund a senior house.
That's time there.
Yeah.
Hey, Christine, your question is, what do you see as the most pressing concern in the business community?
Well, my answer is fairly short and sweet. As I see it, the most pressing concern for business is out-of-town shopping, including the use of internet sites such as Amazon. If Grand Forks wants to have a vibrant downtown core, then our local businesses must be supported by us.
Moving along, Zach, your question is, what action will you take to address the healthcare situation in the region?
Council has already taken some steps. We did advocate at UBCM, along with most municipalities, for just more healthcare services. The health minister did grant BC as a whole a heck of a lot of money for more positions. We were granted 11 positions. Some of those are ambulance positions. And that sounds great, but people who fill those positions need to live somewhere. That's what's holding us back. Interior Health and the city have been working hard, and Community Futures have been working hard to try and recruit people to fill those positions, and they all run into the same stumbling block. Where do I live? So it's really a housing crisis. That being said, fast forward 2 years from now, we're going to have a good 200 or so units on 68th Avenue. Fast forward 5 to 10 years from now, we're probably going to have another 300 units between the Railway Park possible development and the Copper Ridge possible development. So there's lots of housing on its way. As that comes, we are going to see those positions being filled.
That's time. Thank you, Zach. Okay, moving into the next section here, we'll have a series of questions. We'll go down the line 3 separate times here. And we'll start back up at this end with Patrick again. And yeah, just a reminder that you do have your yellow wild cards. You're able to use those 2 times. So feel free to throw it up, and if you want a wild card reply to someone else's wild card reply, that's okay as well. So let's come back to Patrick here for the first question. So what is your vision for the municipal airport in the next 5 to 10 years?
Well, thank you. I got a good vision for the airport to upgrade so we keep our ambulance service and the people coming into town with their plane to do business. Thank you.
Moving down the line here, let's move down to Rod. Your question is, what has been your biggest success so far as or a failure as a councillor?
I'll go with the biggest success as a councillor. When we were in Pincher Creek, one of the economic development things, or one of the things that fell in our lap, so to speak, oh, I got a minute right, that's bad for a politician. Wind power development in the Pincher Creek area had so many roadblocks that we had to do a conscious effort to lobby the government to make sure that the local municipalities got a say. For some reason, once it became big dollars, the province wanted to take control and put windmills when and wherever they wanted to. As a municipality, we said, no, we control structures, we control the safety of the roads, so we have a role to play in this process. I don't know how it ended up, but again, for Pincher Creek, the wind power industry has done us very well out there.
Okay, Neil, your question is, where do you believe social support services, like a soup kitchen, supportive housing, or shelter, belong in the community?
Not downtown. That's the simple answer. There is a place, and it should be an inclusive space for all of those that need or that need help or a hand up. When you put it down into the commercial core of a community, it can affect business. So I think it needs to be outside of the downtown core. Thank you.
Thank you, Neil. And Christine, your question is, do you feel there's underutilized funds in the current city budget? If so, please cite some specific areas where you could reduce funding.
I really wish I could answer yes to that question, but I can't. We've worked very, very hard on our budgeting process. And one of the things that I advocated for at the time of the budget was particularly as it related to capital expenditures. Are they achievable? Can they be done in the current taxation year and not taxed for this year and carried forward to a future year? So I think we've been very responsible with our management team and council in developing a budget that provides the services that our community needs and wants. Thank you.
Okay, Zach, what role do you envision for the arts and culture in our economic future?
Oh, this is a fun one. As many people know, I love the arts and culture in this community. There's tons of room for it to grow. If you go back, well, pre-COVID, like we had a hustling, bustling arts culture. I would love to see that come up, and it slowly is coming back up. Definitely arts and culture are a key component of any community. Without that, it not only does the community look bad, you know, we've got our murals and stuff, but it just gives people stuff to do, whether you're just watching a performance, watching something at the art gallery, or actually making art, participating in that dance class. There's tons of room for arts and culture, and I'm definitely a supporter of it.
Coming back around to Patrick, what would you do to ensure we retain large industries and the jobs that come with it in our city?
Well, we got to keep the tax base low to bring that into our cities. That's the main thing, the taxes. Thank you.
Okay, moving on to Rod. What do you see as the top 2 most pressing concerns in the business community?
I believe the top 2 concerns in the business community is, first of all, to get the downtown back together. It's not a very pleasant place to walk around right now, and we must try and get things into a more, I guess, user-friendly condition. It's going to take a while with the dikes and the different pumping stations and whatnot, but we definitely have to do that. And also, I haven't followed up on where we are with the Roger Brooks presentation, but a gathering center downtown to bring people down for events and whatnot, I think is a must. So I think that would help our business community.
Okay, Neil, what bylaw would you change or introduce to improve the market district?
To improve the, sorry?
What bylaw would you change or introduce to improve the market district?
Oh. Don't know. There are a lot of improvements that can be made. I'm not sure those improvements can be made through bylaw, so that's sort of where I'm a little stumped on that one. Yeah, as the business community, the downtown community, the shoppers, the tourists, the people from out of area that come and enjoy our city, the more of that we can get, the more prosperous the businesses will be, and we'll all benefit from it. Hope that answered it.
Okay, Christine, what project or organization have you been involved in as a councillor that you would like to see continued?
I've been involved as council liaisons to several organizations, including the Chamber of Commerce and the Downtown Business Association. The Downtown Business Association is having a meeting on October the 3rd, on Monday. And at that meeting, I think is going to be a determination of whether or not it can continue. There are very, very few people that serve on the board of directors. And there are less that actually are out and doing events and for the downtown core. So I think consideration should be given to moving the Downtown Business Association back under the auspices of the Chamber of Commerce, who have excellent staff and who can work with the DBA to put on events that are going to enhance the downtown area.
That's time there.
Thank you.
Okay, Zach, your second question. What do you see as a solution to increasing the city's revenue?
As revenue, you said?
What do you see as a solution to increasing city revenue?
Revenue. So, for people that don't know, we're behind the speakers, so all we hear is... Yes, so for revenue, that's a trickier one. We already are doing certain things, like we actually own our own electric utility. Not many municipalities do that. There possibility of doing something at the airport is there. Possibly encouraging the film industry to come here. We do have some spare land out by Extra. It'd be nice to see sort of like a YouTube creator hub. I know you're probably thinking YouTube creator hub, what's that? Most YouTubers make literally millions of dollars, and they're all looking for a space to actually have their studios. So shared studio might be an option. That being said, anything would have to come across council.
We've got a wild card here from Christine. 1 minute for Christine.
I think the proposals Zach put forward are good ones, but I think an easier one is infill, construction of new housing in the development areas that we've discussed earlier and you've heard about earlier. That is going to increase our tax base and as a result will increase our tax revenues. And that is, I think, an excellent way not only to grow our community, but to have the funds that we need to continue to support the services that we want and need.
Thank you, Christine. Seeing no other wild cards, we're going to jump to this. We'll finish with the same question that we did with the first round. You can each have a chance to go at this one. So we'll start back up with Patrick. But Patrick, what are your top 3 priorities if elected?
The top 3 ones are to upgrade the water and the sewer, the roads, the sidewalks, the electrical system, and the parks. Thank you.
Okay, Rod, same question. What are your top 3 priorities if you're elected?
I don't think it's a question of what my 3 top priorities are, it's what the community's is. And I believe it's infrastructure, the aging infrastructure, the lack of housing of all scales, and also communication. City Hall, your councillors, has to communicate to the community better than we have in the past. We need to let you know what we're doing, why we're doing it, and more importantly, get your feedback on issues like how the downtown might look when we get everything put back together.
Neil, same question. What are your top 3 priorities if elected?
Top 3, top 1 would be the retention of the services that we have and increase of the services we should have. So I'm talking hospital, I'm talking retention of the ambulance service, I'm talking increase in mental health, addictions. So a human factor is my top priority. Second, I definitely want to see DMAF, which is the flood mitigation, finished, complete, and functioning. Infrastructure is always on everybody's list, but keep in mind it took us 125 years to get here. We don't want to take 125 years to get out of the hole we're in. So people seem to think the city isn't doing anything with the infrastructure.
That's time.
We are.
Okay, Christine, same question. What are your top 3 priorities if elected?
Top 3 priorities that I want to advocate for are healthcare and getting our acute care beds back, to have our roads and streets upgraded, and also when you're doing that, you might as well go underground and do the utilities as well, the services. And thirdly is to work with the mental health and addictions people to assist those who want to recover and get off their drugs. We don't know their stories or why they're there, but to work with them and get them the supports and the helps that they need.
And Zach, same question. What are your top 3 priorities if you're elected?
They're not actually my priorities, they're yours. So what I've been hearing of most of your concerns are housing. I did touch base on that a little bit. There's lots of housing on its way. Infrastructure. Neil was just about to get there when he got cut off, but that is a one piece at a time kind of thing. To just magically snap our fingers and redo it overnight. I'm sure you guys would like that, staff would like it, your tax dollars would not like it. It would be literally impossible to do. So it is a sort of a slow and steady, one step at a time process. And safety. So public safety is always a good thing to be aware of, and we definitely need to look at different avenues the city can increase that. We have brought in a bylaw officer a little while ago, security contractor, we've been advocating to the police, transit liaison, but there's still a long way to go for safety. And one big thing to help out with that is if you see something, call the police and report it. Every call helps add to their numbers.
That's
will
time there.
increase.
Thank you, Zach. Okay, we'll go one more time through the line here. You've got 1 minute each for your closing remarks, and we'll start back up with Patrick.
I have your experience. I'm asking you for your support. Please vote Patrick O'Doherty for this election. And I have to tell you that I'm sorry that I was a little bit nervous tonight. But you could call me anytime at the house if you want some information regarding the election or the city of Grand Forks. Thank you.
Okay, Rob, you've got 1 minute for your closing remarks.
Well, first of all, I'd like to thank everybody for being here. This is part of the best part of the council job is to be able to talk to the people. These questions are long and varied. For answers that I would give, please follow me on Facebook, Rod Zed at the city. That's where I'll be posting a lot of my stuff. A little bit of reality into the evening. You hear a lot of people saying, I'll do this and I'll do that. And the reality is that you must work together as a group at council. So I wish you all luck. Hopefully you vote a group that can work together, work towards projects, and get some things done. I would like to be one of those people. Please vote Rob.
Thank you, Rob. Now we've got Neil. Neil, you've got 1 minute for your closing remarks.
For closing remarks, I'm going to finish my opening remarks. What is my platform? Simple. Do what's best for the city as a whole and its residents. A better question is, what am I not going to do? I will not bow to special interest groups, including other levels of government. I will not make decisions just to be popular. Actually, I'll not hesitate to make decisions that are unpopular with some people if it is in the best interest of the community. I appreciate the years of support and faith in me to be a councillor for you and wish to continue, but it's entirely up to you. I never pretend to be anything I'm not, and in the words of Popeye, who's 90 years old, I am's what I am.
Okay, Trustee, you've got 1 minute for your closing remarks.
I want to thank all of the candidates who have put their names forward to serve on your city council. You will have had an opportunity to hear all of the platforms and to consider what each has to offer. Some of the important issues I will be advocating for are affordable housing, a hotel, and the provision of healthcare in our community. Other issues include business retention, seniors' concerns, and green areas. I will be happy to meet and discuss questions you may have. Please do not hesitate to contact me. Again, I ask for your consideration in electing me, Christine Thompson, to your City Council. Thank you.
And to close out this round, we have Zach. You've got 1 minute for your closing remarks.
Thank you all for coming. Thanks to the Chamber for putting this on. And thanks for Braden, Tyler, and Morgan for looking after some of the technical aspects. I just want to remind everybody, get out there and vote. I know you're here today, but try to make it to the polls. Try to encourage all of your friends and family to make it for the polls. Even if they don't live here, whatever area, whatever city, whatever town they live in, get them to vote for their candidates in that area. Municipal elections, they do come very close. Some of us get in with literally just 5 or 6 votes, or not get in with 5 or 6 votes. So be sure to get out and support your candidate. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Zach. That wraps up this round. Okay, starting back in here from the beginning. We are going to start with our 2 minutes each for your opening remarks. We did a little draw, and David Mark is up first. So David, you've got 2 minutes for your opening remarks.
Hello everybody, I'm David Mark. I'm running for City Council to try and bring the changes our city needs as we continue to grow. I was born in Grand Forks and lived here for my childhood years. When I graduated, I moved away for school and work. During 7 years away, I saw many of the issues we face today arriving in the communities I lived in. 2018, my family and I moved back to Grand Forks, and we've been trying to connect with the community and be the positive change that we want to see. Housing is a concern for all age groups, whether they're looking for a first home, a house to raise a family in, or downsizing to something more manageable. Creating new housing and making the best use of what we have is important. There have been many concerns about security in our town, and most of these arise as a result of the drug crisis our country faces. I believe that every resident has the right to feel safe, whether walking around town or relaxing at home. We all have the right to retain our personal property and not to feel threatened by those who would try to take it. If elected, I will work with my fellow councillors to find creative and effective security solutions. Responsible spending and respect for tax dollars is essential. For seniors on a fixed income or people working the best job available to them, finding an extra $1,000 a year can seem an insurmountable burden. Infrastructure in Grand Forks will need significant investment in the coming years. We need to provide long-time residents with reliable utilities, and people moving here don't need to lose a wheel to a pothole when they get here. Local businesses need our attention and support to ensure they continue to thrive in an evolving economy. There will be no easy solution to our challenges, and not one will fit all, but with a motivated and engaged City Council, I hope to reach conclusions that we can all be proud of. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Moving down the line, we have Nikki Best up next. Nikki, you've got 2 minutes for your opening remarks.
Good evening, everybody. I just need you to know that the last time I was on this stage, I think I was probably standing in about the same place. Miss Kettle Valley Dodge, being sat with Miss Congeniality in the Grand Forks Queen pageant, and I was probably as nervous then as I am now, so please bear with me. I've lived in Grand Forks for close to 50 years. I've raised 3 children here, and I'm raising 2 more. Have blessed these halls with my feet, my kids' feet, and 2 more to come. I love Grand Forks. I've sat on many boards and have seen things go through Grand Forks and come and go and come and go and come and go. I have worked with the community to do things such as the Black Train Bridge, to aid in the trails, to have a place for our youth to still congregate and be safe, and I look forward to continuing to do that.
Up next we have Deborah Lafleur. Deborah, you've got 2 minutes for your opening remarks.
Hi, I'm Deborah Lafleur. My husband Ray and I moved to Grand Forks 20 years ago. We first lived in Area D for 16 years, and the last 4.5 years we've actually been living in the city. Some of you know me from volunteer work that I do, Habitat Restore, GFI Hard Rock Cafe, among others. I also was co-moderator of the Boundary Dog Owners Group. A little bit about my work background. I've worked for several provincial government departments, including municipal affairs, community and occupational health, Alberta Health, and the last position I had in Edmonton was 5 years at the St. Joseph's College Bioethics Center. I currently work part-time with 3 universities doing transcription of qualitative research interviews, but that timing is flexible and wouldn't interfere with council duties. Do you know that Grand Forks has a population of 61.53% of voters that are over the age of 55? Seniors' issues are a big issue. Housing, healthcare, not just for seniors, but healthcare in general. We need to protect our hospital and get it back to where it was. We need to look at our infrastructure, our economic development, community center. I think it's a really nice idea, but I'm really concerned of what it will do to the tax base. Because as I've been knocking on doors, people are saying, please don't raise my taxes, I can't afford it. We have quite a disparity in town of what people's income levels are, and we have to be cognizant of that. And so yeah, fiscal responsibility and economic development are really important.
That's time. Okay, up next we've got Kendon McNutt. Kendon, you got 2 minutes here for your opening remarks.
Thanks very much. Good evening, everyone. My name is Kenton McNutt, and my family and I are fairly new residents to the Grand Forks area. We moved here just in January of 2022, right in the middle of winter, and probably one of the largest snowfalls we've seen in a while for us. We came from South Vancouver Island, and for us, when we landed here first in Christina Lake, because there was no available housing for us here. There was no rental properties available for our family. And so we moved out to the lake. Then we eventually moved into the Grand Forks area here in the spring. So that was a blessing because we've got children in school and those are challenges on their own. A little bit more about myself. The bulk of my professional background is based on business management and development. Real estate development, and construction. So it's quite a cross-section, all of that happening sort of between the lower mainland and Vancouver Island. With regards to business, it spanned almost 17 years with Keg Restaurants Limited in middle and upper management, developing programs for that company, and of course developing staff and managers and opening new locations throughout the region. In addition to that, I had another 16-year career in real estate with respect to Royal LePage Canada in the South Vancouver Island. And of course, inclusive of that, we had real estate development as well as development of communities and workable communities for our area. We saw a lot of similar issues and challenges with regards to affordable housing. So that's definitely something I'm keying in on here. The other component of this that I've identified as a concern is the
That's time there. Thank you, Kendon. And up next we have Anna Lestika. You got 2 minutes for your opening remarks.
Okay, thank you everybody for being here tonight. Like Mr. McNutt, I'm new. I've only been living here about 1.5 years, so I'll introduce myself. My name is Anna Leksinska. I'm Polish-Canadian. That's why my signs out there are both white and red. I was born in Warsaw and I immigrated to Toronto when I was 3 years old. I've been raised in the Canadian education system. I know the value of it. We're all taught teamwork, tolerance, empathy, environmental stewardship. I'm very, very proud of that. Then I went on to the University of Oregon, about a 9.5-hour drive south of here in Eugene. I did a 5-year program. It was a Bachelor of Science, and I did an accounting major and all the prerequisites to become a certified public accountant. I did 15 years down under in Australia. I worked for many wonderful organizations. I also managed my own accounting firm for 7 years. And I came here back to Canada in 2020 with 3 wonderful American, Australian, Polish, Canadian children. I'm very, very grateful for that. And I've lost my page through the book. Sorry, but I had bad language. I volunteer wherever I can. I'm a practicing mediator. I've also been working on my Master of Education for the last 5 years, because I've sort of got an infectious love for math and science and business and sport. So I want to pass that on to our new generations here. I really come here with good intentions. I really want everybody to be happy and prosperous and healthy. Those are my goals for being here in this community, and I've totally lost where I am. As elected officials, I really want us to step up and unite, work together, and do what you wonderful folks here would like us to do. Like we're here to represent you. And we need to advocate for all members of our population.
That's time there. Thank you. Okay, we'll jump back up to the front of the line here and go into some of our pre-asked questions. And for David, where do you believe social support services, like a soup kitchen, supportive housing, or shelter, belong in our community?
You know, I never would have thought growing up, but I do think that supportive housing, soup kitchens, shelters are necessary in our community now. There's enough people need them, enough people are using them. Obviously, we have to keep in mind, is it safe for the community? Is it sustainably run? And is there any way that we can improve it to help get these people past where they need that help. That's my biggest concern. Other than that, I'm open to hearing from townspeople what we should do with them. Thank you.
A reminder, group here, of course, that you do have your 2 wild cards, so at any time if you'd like to respond to someone else's answer, pull up the wild card and we'll call you out here. Moving along, down to Nikki. Nikki, what action will you take to address the healthcare situation in our region?
Well, honestly, I think that council now has moved forward in every way we can to address that. Being elected onto council, I would see what they're doing now to be followed through. Housing is a big issue in Grand Forks, not with just our healthcare, but with everything else. If we don't have housing, we don't have new business, we don't have much of anything. Our seniors need a new place, our working class need a new place, and our kids are going to need a place to go. So housing, I think, is our number 1 issue before we can move forward with anything. Also with the healthcare, if we keep our communication open with Interior Health and reiterate it to the public and make it very clear what Interior Health is doing. We may be closed for the weekend, but that doesn't mean our emergency room is closed. We can still use that emergency room, and I don't think that message is being...
That's time. And moving on to Deborah. Deborah, your question is, what is your priority with respect to addressing the mental health and addiction issues that we're experiencing in the community?
Like other communities in BC, Grand Forks has to deal with this issue, which has no magic fix. The hope may be on the way. This month, the provincial government released a summary and recommendations from the Butler and Lepard report on repeat offending and random stranger violence. The full report will come out later in October. A key feature of this report is an evidence-based response capitalizing on the success of the United Kingdom's prolific offender management model. And this model was actually piloted here in BC between 2008 and 2012. The model would require some assistance from the feds in changing certain laws. However, any changes to the current system will take time. In the interim, council will need to work with the provincial government to get more mental health and rehab supports in place, and work with BC Housing on the proposed supportive housing so we can get it built and get the background services on site that recognize the uniqueness of individuals' needs.
Okay, Kenton, your question is, how would you improve the quality of life for youth and the seniors in our community?
Thanks for the question. Targeting the needs and the programs and activities for youth is one. Obviously, having 3 children myself, I'm pretty familiar with. The first opportunity we need to address is have outlets for expression for these children, right? Various ages. So we need music, we need arts, we need culture, right? Other opportunities is that sense of belonging and trying to connect with the community. Where do they belong in the community? How we can help them connect with the community rather than just being a shadow in the dark. And then of course, lastly, with regards to physical activity, having programs and sporting groups and clubs that are going to allow them to be outside, enjoy the art, the sports and recreation, enjoy indoor recreation in facilities that allow that 12 months a year. So those are the biggest things for that. With regards to seniors in housing, it is...
That's time. Okay, last up in this first section is Anna. Anna, what is your plan to increase the availability of more housing options in the community?
Okay, thank you for the question. First of all, I'd like to commend the previous councils hearing today that we've already had 250 homes approved and being built, so that's awesome. That's wonderful to hear because we all know about the struggle finding housing. What I plan to do personally is I would like to attract large investment, large business, whether it's individual or companies, as long as they're sustainable, socially sustainable, ecologically sustainable. I want to attract that kind of investment to our town so we have more homes. And I want to focus on seniors housing, affordable housing, and when we put people in homes that have come off the streets, I think we need to have the right programs for them to get better, to deal with their mental health issues and addiction issues, because I think that goes hand in hand with good housing. Thank you.
Okay, let's move into now we've got another series of questions here. We'll run through 3 questions each. You've still got 1 minute each. Sorry, yeah, 2 quick, yeah. And you've also got your 2 yellow wild cards, so make sure to use those if you like. We will start back up here with David. What do you see as the top 2 most pressing concerns in the business community?
Thank you. So far, what I've seen in the business community is getting people who already live here to shop locally, encouraging them to do so, making it viable for the businesses to provide the level of service that they want and need, having products available, having staffing to help them, etc. And the other challenge is getting people going through to stop and shop with our local businesses, attracting them to areas with the businesses, keeping them interested, not just we'll grab a coffee, we'll get out of town and carry on to a bigger center. Events are helping with that, and hopefully we're getting back into doing some more of that. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Nikki, what do you believe should be the city's infrastructure priorities for this term?
Thank you for that question. And again, I need to apologize about how nervous I am tonight. Those of you that know me, I'm usually not like this. So if you have questions and we're not in a large group, go ahead and fire away. So when it comes to the infrastructure, I think where we need to start, and this is just my personal opinion, is where we're starting already. We're breaking ground, putting houses in, and we've started there. So our next step is where we break ground next, because there's no point in breaking ground if we're not going to do something. It's old, where we're developing, and that's the way we need to continue. Where we develop is where we need to continue.
Thank you, Nikki. And Deborah, what does a sustainable future for our community look like to you?
A sustainable future for our community is economic development, it's housing, it's recreation, keeping our trails alive, increasing our business base. Because we don't want people constantly going to Kelowna to shop. Bring more businesses in, that helps with our taxation. Healthcare. Healthcare. We really need to resolve that issue. And we need affordable housing for everybody.
Your question is, what investments would you make to encourage and support additional investments in our community?
Sorry, could you repeat that?
Yeah. What investments would you make to encourage and support additional investments into the community?
Okay, thanks for that question. So yeah, the investment that I think that I would make in it would be in the people of the community, but not only that, it would be in putting a little more shine on our community. You're not going to be sought after if you don't have something very attractive about you, right? So in that community and town environment, we want to stand out amongst the crowd, and hopefully that's going to help us attract more business opportunities and attract investors into our community. And of course, the other component of that is making sure we can sustain employment and of course housing for those particular people. So I think housing would be another investment opportunity that we'd look at.
I put my hand up before Mr. McNutt finished speaking, and he answered exactly what I would say. So well done, thank you.
Okay, so yeah, Anna, so your question is, how would you improve the quality of life for the youth and the seniors in the community?
Oh, thank you for that question. Well, I'm very much into physical literacy. I think we should all be very, very healthy. We should have the right programs for all ages, seniors. I think we can encourage all kinds of sports, clubs, bodies to move into the community. I think we have this amazing wilderness that we could use even more, teach people about what plants are growing, get us moving, both seniors and young people alike. I think there's programs for everybody, and we need to implement them. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, I actually want to finish my initial response to that question. So for seniors, I talked about youth, but for seniors, we need to be able to have multi-purpose continuum care models, right? So that's going to mean a care home or a building that is going to be able to take care of seniors in multifaceted stages of care. We just can't have a nursing home or something that limits their scope of behavior and their scope of life. The other component of that is to have programs that allow our seniors to have the purpose, to be purposeful, and to be able to interact, and almost like a mentorship to our youth. I think that would be a great sort of segue, is to utilize the youth to interact with our seniors as well as our seniors interacting with our youth of our community. Thus, both groups being heavily vested in the community, and I think in the whole, we're going to see a better community in the end.
That's time. Coming back around to David. David, what have you done for the community in the last 5 years?
So as far as what I've done for the community in the last 5 years, I've been living here and I've been doing my best to help anybody and everybody I meet. I work hard at my job, and people receive my services there. I do other handiwork and helping seniors. I also try and just make sure that things are the way that I envision them for this town, which is healthy, happy, productive. If I see something wrong downtown, I'll talk to somebody about it. I will, often if I see somebody not doing well, I'll ask, are you okay? Little things like that, that's what makes us a community, and I hope to continue. Thanks.
Thank you, David. And Nikki, what have you done to prepare for your role as counselor?
Believe it or not, with as nervous as I am, you would never know. However, I've talked to several people in the community. I'm very active in the community, and not necessarily with the seniors, because I find that they've got a lot of advocates for them already. But I've talked with lots of people in the community that are just your regular, average, blue-collared person that's out there working, trying to raise a family. And what I've done to prepare for the role is just listening. I can't tell you what I can do and what I am going to do, because I don't know what the rules that are set out in front of me yet. When I know those rules, I'll be able to tell you what I am and I'm not going to do. But I am willing to listen. I'm here to learn, and I'm here for the community.
Thank you, Nikki. And Deborah, how will you support economic growth in the city?
I think we support economic growth by trying to bring new businesses into town, encouraging businesses that we have here maybe to expand. We need to keep our tax base low, which also will encourage businesses to establish, because one of the things I heard from business was that the taxes are a bit high. We need to keep the people in the community, get them housed. Sorry, I'm really nervous too. So just the economic development, to keep businesses here, encourage businesses to come. I do like the idea of bringing a hotel in, which could maybe bring a conference center in with it. And just encouraging, yes, people shop local.
Okay, Kenton, what do you see as a solution to increasing the city's revenue?
Thanks for the question. So as far as increasing the city's revenue, there's a number of items. I think a lot of it starts with being able to attract new businesses to our community. Stemming off of that is going to be being able to have people move here and be employed at those businesses. Stemming off of that is going to be having housing to accommodate all those people. So they're multifaceted, multi-layered, but I think those are our three biggest factors.
And at the end there, Anna, do you support the community center? Why or why not?
Well, personally, I have to support the community center because I love sports and movement so much, but I understand the cost implications, and if you vote for me as your councillor, I will not raise taxes. I think there are other ways to raise revenue, as some of us have stated here tonight. I want to bring outside investment. I think the city can create its own businesses, its own way of bringing money in without taxing us, everybody here, the constituents. I think the community center will be a go-ahead if I'm on council, for sure, because I think it's important that we're fit and healthy and have a place to meet and play together. And we'll find a way to fund it. There's always a way, and I think with my accounting background, I'll be a good representative for you for that. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Oh, Ronald Fair thinking.
Yeah, thank you for that. So I also agree with that. I think a community center would be a great benefit to our community. A central meeting place and a venue for our community, provide cross-sectional programs and activities for our population. Central destinations for venue for out-of-region groups, out-of-town groups and organizations, and programs and activities that can be exercised throughout the entire year. What I'm struggling with is the cost of this. The projected cost being $16.3 million. The size of the facility is 13,000 square feet. Cost per square feet is $1,253.84. The Atlas Group, in their 2022 Canadian Coast Cost Guide, has got the area of Vancouver, the cost of construction for a commercially graded facility such as this, to be a low of 500 square feet and a high of 850 square feet. So we're really way off those numbers. So I think we've got to take care of this.
Okay, final question, same as we did for the last two rounds. We'll run through each person here, starting back up with David. And we'll say, David, what would your top three priorities be if elected?
Hey, my top three priorities, the only other three words I could fit on my sign: family, security, prosperity. Family being making it easier for everybody of every age group to live here, have them happy and healthy. Security, people's security of property, security of food, security of water, and that's about that for that. And prosperity being our businesses thriving, growing, attracting new businesses, keeping old businesses, and people here achieving a higher standard of living, having more money at the end of the day if possible, and raising their families the way they want to here. Thank you.
Thank you, David. And Vicky, same question. What would your top... Oh, sorry, we had a wild card at the end of there.
It's the same question going along, yeah?
Yep, that's correct. Okay, Anna, so Vicky, your question is, what are your top three priorities if elected?
Pretty much the same as everybody else. But I'd just like to add that, recreation is being missed here. And once we have our housing come in, we need things for people to do. There's not enough things for people to do here. We have trails, we need to capitalize on those. We have a bowling alley that's finally coming back. But we need things to do. So recreation would be, after housing, the second thing that I would look forward to working on. And then, we need to bring in people that we can employ. I own two businesses in Grand Forks, and I really, really, really struggle with employment. We just don't have the people that want to come to work. And I know that the businesses downtown are struggling with the same thing. Thank goodness we have a chamber that has stepped up to the plate and is working really hard.
That's time.
Community futures.
And Deborah, same question. What would your top three priorities be if elected?
Well, one of the things that we have, and the difficulty with the businesses hiring, is the age of our population. We have a lot of retirees and people that are, you know, slowing down and winding into that position. So we need to bring in younger families. We have to have affordable housing for that to occur. We need to have economic development, and we have to support infrastructure because we cannot ignore it. So yeah, that's.
And thank you. Same question, thank you. What would your top 3 priorities be if elected?
Yeah, thank you. Top 3 priorities if elected to council. First one will be infrastructure. We've got a significant amount of infrastructure that needs to be remedied, and we just have to get to it. Second one would be housing. That's something that we've seen, I've experienced personally, and we've seen all along here is as a theme of housing, but not just single family, but we need multi-family models. We need half duplexes. We need townhouses. We need condominiums. We need all of that, right? Higher density is going to help our tax base, so that's a fact. And then last but not least, it would be the healthcare and getting our healthcare system back up and running, our hospital back up and running, and the people that work there. Again, going back to the second point, getting them places to live so they can actually be sustainable members of our community.
Okay, Anna, same question for you. What would your top 3 priorities be if elected?
Thank you. First of all, if I'm elected, if you vote for me, I really want to represent you. I want you to tell me what your 3 reasons are, okay? And I want to work towards what the community wants. Personally, I think healthcare is a big one, and that includes mental health, and there's 2 aspects to that. Not just the treatment services, which we already have going, which we need, I will work to fund them very well, but there's also the prevention services that we need to look at bringing into our town as well, and if they are here. I'm so new, I need to go there and talk to all the administrators of these social services that we have, and I want to know what the real issues are and work to fix what we can. Like everybody else is saying, infrastructure, homes, lighting in the city, the underground pipes, playgrounds for our children, getting our hospital beds back, all these important issues to all of us. And third is physical literacy. Again, I'm going to mention it because that's what I'm about. I want us all to move together, walk together, run together, dance together.
That's time.
Thank you.
Okay, to wrap things up here, we have our closing remarks from each of us, each of you guys. We will start up here with David. So you've got 1 minute, David. Let's hear your closing remarks.
Thanks everybody for coming to meet us. I'd really like to also say a lot of the questions tonight have been based on what are you going to do for youth, what are you going to do for seniors. These issues affect us all, and we're going to have to come together, the multiple generations that live in this town, to work together to build what we want. The seniors passing knowledge down, the young people helping to work and generate the money and help care for our seniors and support them as they get older. All in all, I encourage you all to talk to our prospective counselors, get to know them better, and vote. Thank you.
Thank you, David. And Nikki, you've got 1 minute for your closing remarks.
I'm not going to need 1 minute. I'm glad this is the closing remarks. Again, I don't know why. I will do much better in a smaller crowd. If you have questions for me, please contact me. I am on Facebook. Just look me up, Nikki Best. I know lots of you don't have Facebook. My card's out there. I'm known in the community. I'm sure you'll find my phone number. Just give me a call. Ask me the questions you want to hear.
Thank you, Nikki. And Deborah, you've got 1 minute for your closing remarks.
I'd like to thank the Chamber for organizing this event, and I'd like to thank everybody that came out and listened to us, as nervous as some of us were. Elections are really important to me as a female. Our predecessors had to fight for our right to vote, so please do come out and vote. I am reachable through Facebook. My phone number is in the telephone book. If you have questions for me, give me a call, and thank you.
Thank you, Deborah. And Kenton, 1 minute for your closing remarks.
Thank you. So I just want to thank again everyone for coming out this evening and listening to us, our platforms, and how we propose to earn your votes. Your new council will have, whoever it may be, will have these tasks ahead of it. Balancing new development with keeping what we most love about our town, our green spaces, our riverfront, the charm and character of our neighborhoods, the streets, and our distinctive local businesses that we have here. And that really is a strong point, along with our distinct and very strong spirited people. Keeping our infrastructure and basic services up to date, our roads, water, sewers, healthcare, waste management, and protective services by police and fire. Investing in planning for all amenities that support the highest quality of life, adequate and diverse housing, schools, parks and trails, recreational facilities, libraries and community centers, beautiful downtown riverfronts, and accessible facilities. These are all key and components.
And Anna, you've got 1 minute for your closing remarks.
Thank you very much. I want to thank everybody here for coming tonight. Pat on the back for you for listening and participating. I want to thank the Gem Theatre, the high school, the chamber for making this possible. Thank you so much. Thank you to all the candidates for coming up here and getting over our nervousness and speaking in front of everybody. Thank you. I commend you all. For Truth and Reconciliation, I want to acknowledge all the elders here tonight, the First Nations, and as well as the Doukhobors, those elders born in Canada, and all who have come here from various parts of the world. What can I say? I really would like to see us live in peace and prosperity together, eh? And also vote for Anna Leksinska. I really want to do my best to represent you all. Thank you.
Thank you, Anna. That wraps up our final round. All right, folks. Thank you, Andrew. Thank you, Sarah, from the chamber. Now, you guys can wrap it up. If you want to ask some questions, go ahead.